This is Wow! What a week.
What a week. Politricks.
Eta, welcome to another edition of Wow, What a Week. Hashtag Politricks. The winds of power are shifting. Some are dissolving. Some are extending. Others rewriting history altogether. From Gauteng to Tokyo, it's a week of firsts, lasts, and questionable terms. Let's get straight into it. My name is Fresh, and I'm with Botsang. Botsang.
Good morning, Fresh.
But you'll be fine.
I will be fine. The housekeeping first. This show it causes me anxiety. You should tell the viewers that we nearly came to today's show.
Yeah, Botsang had food poisoning because also Botsang has these late nights where he forgets that he's not Botsang of 30 years ago. He's not Botsang the diplomat where you have entertainment allowance and budget and diplomatic immunity. You see, the diplomatic immunity disappears with your ability to process alcohol overnight, Botsang. So
it was not alcohol, Fresh. It's just food poisoning, seafood poisoning. And also, something we did last week.
Yes.
We forgot, and one of our followers in Kenya said, "How guys, he didn't even, wish our late former president well. The show went on, you were quiet." And I'm like, and we spoke about it, but it slipped for us to, send condolences to the people of Kenya and the family of President. The late president or prime minister Odinga.
Yes.
We simply, it was a slip off, and we spoke about it before the show. But apologies to our, fellow brothers and sisters in Kenya.
Can we, and I say this with respect, that a lot of African leaders' deathbeds end up being in foreign hospitals,
yes,
and often European hospitals or in India or in the Middle East. Surely that's a sad indictment on your ability to provide health care for your people and yourself. Because, in the immortal words of Thomas Sankara, if you can't use it, why should you people use it?
Yes. And it's sad, and majority of them actually. And it's clear sign that they failed when they were in power to can create infrastructure or public facilities that could take care of the people. And that's why when they are sick, they will seek medical attention elsewhere. And I think it should be an eye-opener to the leaders in the continent that what people are complaining about, it's actually, even themselves, they don't trust the facilities. The same way even in South Africa, they talk about MPs using public facilities. Their children must go to public schools because they are having the purse and the laws. They make the laws, they design the form of education, health services, and they're not using that. And it's a sign that they don't even have confidence in their own creations.
And often when the stuff hits the fan, the first thing you want to hear is so-and-so is being treated at one military hospital.
Yes.
Why are they not at Charlotte Maxeke, for argument's sake? And I dream in my lifetime for an Africa where you can go to a public hospital, you can go to a public school, you don't need private security, you don't need medical aid insurance, because the system works.
The system works.
And we can blame sanctions, we can blame colonialism, we can blame like a raft of different things that are external influences. But if there's no political will for some of these things to change, they'll never change. And like I said, I dream for that day that if your child is going to a private school, it's because you want them to go to an elite school for social purposes or for socializing purposes, but never because the education there is better.
It's better.
That's what I would love to see.
Well, it's in the hands of politicians, unfortunately. And the more and more people, even people who are struggling to afford.
Yeah.
Medical aid is very expensive.
Yeah.
Private schools are very expensive. I know there are people who are paying per month almost 10 grand for a school. And it was not supposed to be like that because there are monies in this country. They are being used for wrong things. This reminds me what General Mukwanasi said about, that South Africa has one scanner. to scan containers that come to a country. There's one in the whole country. There's
Into the harbors.
There's 73 ports of entry in South Africa.
Every port should have a scanner.
73 ports of entry, which is 9 international airports, land and sea. There's only one scanner in the Republic of South Africa.
Every port should have a scanner.
It's supposed to be. And look, I can tell you, those scanners are very expensive.
Yeah.
But for the protection of the economy in the country against illicit goods and for things like drug trafficking and human trafficking,
Yeah.
we need those scanners.
Yeah.
And one guy that I hang up with, you said to me, Potang, you always boast about having been part of the formation of the Border Management Authority. How can you guys never bought scanners? I'm like, no, if you are an administrator, you do your job. You recommend, you tell principals, what do we need?
What is needed?
If the principals don't buy scanners, I can tell you, Fresh, I joined the cross-border agency in 2010. We have been talking about scanners at ports like Beitbridge.
Yeah.
Since I learned that there's no scanner.
I was going to say that, remember Operation Tudula have been lamenting the fact that one of their issues with undocumented migrants
yes.
getting, unfettered access to free healthcare in this country.
Yes.
Is that many of them are queuing up for ARVs for export.
Yes.
And there was a tragic bus accident, a week
About
ago?
a week ago, yes.
Where, 50 people died?
Yeah, the last time I checked, there's about 43 people.
And
yes.
they found a massive shipment of ARVs. They were going to go out of this country to Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe, yes.
If there was a scanner at that border, or at the very least, a thorough searching of any container, any bus, you would not have drugs being smuggled out of the country.
Yeah.
You would not have people being smuggled into the country because you're searching, because you're scanning. And unfortunately, a lot of these bus drivers and these transporters are emboldened by the fact that they know that, one, I'm not going to get scanned.
Yes.
I can pay someone and they can overlook searching.
Yeah.
And until we fix all of that, we're going to continue having porous borders, continue having the lawlessness of smuggling goods and people in and out of the country.
And also, even if we can put personnel there to search the buses, it will cause very serious congestions and delays. And we don't want that. We want the free flow of people, movement and goods. But even the scanner, Fresh, it scans only 10% of what comes in.
Yeah, it's random.
Out.
It's random.
It's random. You can't scan every container that comes into the country. But when you have intelligence doing its work, whether it's crime intelligence or police or border intelligence, and you have the assistant of technology like scanners, you will be able to minimize or reduce the volume of illicit goods, human trafficking, and drugs coming out in the country. And I don't know why, honestly, I do not know why would a government not invest in security equipment to protect the borders of the country. I'm not talking about illegal immigrants with permits and what that is another issue to handle. But to protect the economy of illicit goods, to protect us against drugs coming into South Africa. Human beings, how many times in the country people were found in containers, being smuggled into South Africa or out of South Africa. There's human trafficking is very bad in the world, as well as children trafficking. And I think, our political leaders or decision makers, they must rethink where we are allocating money as a nation. They are not allocating money where it's needed. Some of the things, if you invest in scanners, yes, it's a lot of money, but it may improve the economy and the livelihood of people. Because now the economy will grow because there's no illicit goods are coming. So this does not need rocket science.
And already, the tobacco industry is losing billions due to illicit tobacco goods.
Yes.
And some of them are being brought into the country. And they're being brought in because it's known that I will get through the border because no one's going to search my container, no one's going to search me. Or I know who I need to pay for a blind eye to be turned.
Yeah. So it's part is corruption, part is the government not doing its job. And somebody asked a very serious question. Why would the government not procure scanners to scan what comes into the country? Why? Ask yourself that question. Why would the government not do that? And it's a very serious challenge.
While we're talking crime and crime prevention, Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi controversially established the Amapanyaza Crime Prevention Wardens. At the time, many accused him of electioneering, that it's almost election time. All of a sudden, there's a program, Nasispani, for people to get jobs, be empowered, get training, upskilling. The iterations of Nasispani were different.
Yeah.
And there was the crime prevention wardens called Amapanyaza. And we've since found out 2-3 days ago that they will be disbanded over the next 3 years. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, if you would recall, I said to some WhatsApp group guys, my memory serves me very well on this one, vividly. We discussed it in detail in one of the previous episodes, the controversy behind it. People who were saying it was electioneering, and there was another side that was saying, but why are people call it electioneering when Premier Panyaza Lesufi is creating jobs for youth?
Because I was going to say,
it was in need. Youth were needing jobs.
Bad or good timing or not, I just want youth to get opportunities.
Yeah. Yes.
And if it meant youth are going to get opportunities at that point, I was fine with it.
Also, despite youth getting jobs, Gauteng has a problem of crime that needed attention.
Yes.
I haven't seen any report on the impact that the Gauteng wardens have done, whether there was a shift, a change, or I haven't seen any official report. But I've seen their presence everywhere in Gauteng, especially in townships and all that. And they were assisting police. Sometimes they went roadblock with police. The problem I had at that time, it's officially what the then Minister of Police, as well as I vividly recall the Road Traffic Management Corporation, RTMC, even offered, because they've got a police training college and like I always say, the police, the traffic officials, they are called peace officers.
Yes.
RTMC even offered to train them because according to the police at that time, these people were not adequately trained.
Yes.
You remember even Premier Lesufi had said, not even the Minister of Police. Remember there was a squabble between the then Minister of Police and Premier to say nobody's going to stop us from doing our job and creating employment for youth and things like that. And I said at that time, fresh, it is right to create jobs. It is a good thing, especially for youth. And it has happened. Thousands, I don't know the numbers, were hired and they got jobs, so there's livelihood in them. But it is wrong to go and implement a project on illegally, because this is the public protector who has come out now to say they are actually an illegal creation and therefore they must be dissolved. It's sad because now these people are already working at any salaries, they are stable. And it's going to impact on them. And somebody was questioning, I watched the news that night, somebody was questioning, why 3 years? If they're illegal now, why do you still want to keep them for the next 3 years? And there's a challenge that the premier at that time actually made wrong decisions against, again, he was advised to say don't do it. But you recall there was even a debate between the Democratic Alliance and Premier Panyaza said, but Western Cape has crime wardens. And I said at that time, it is not about the Western Cape have them, let's just have them. Let them be legally and adequately trained and equipped, because to take a warden and put them to go and fight crime when you are properly trained, you are actually putting them at risk as well. One of the outcomes of the public protector's report is we are actually even risking those people's lives.
In fact, I mean, even if you look at where people often say, can the military be brought in to help with crime? And often experts will tell you that the military are not trained to deal with public disorder.
Yes.
They are trained differently. So what more with a crime warden who's not necessarily trained in anything?
Exactly.
At least the army are trained to fight back if they need to fight back.
Yeah.
So now you're going to take civilians, put them in uniform, inadequately trained, and say to them, go make a difference. I mean, we have lawsuits already from people who claim to have been assaulted by these crime wardens. But having said that, I understand why they would phase them out in terms of, okay, we are now here.
Yes.
These are people's lives.
Exactly.
You can't just say to people, we're going to pull the plug because bad decisions were made. Maybe I'm too empathetic for my own good. But
No,
I believe once you've dragged people into something, and they've made life decisions based on that. At the very least, phase it out gently. Don't just pull the plug.
I think it is one, human.
Yeah.
Two, it's legally correct. You don't want to create another problem where the province or the Premier's office will be faced with labor lawsuits because these people are employed. They've got, a financial commitments.
Yes.
You have your salary now. You probably have bought a car or you have bought a house or you have started something because you've got a stable income. The credit rating of these people, their livelihoods, their kids and all that. I think it is human and it's correct that it should be phased off over time. And don't dispose them. I think send them back to training. Correct the wrongs that were done instead of dismissing these people and shutting down.
Yeah.
Because there's equipment of motor vehicles. I mean, they all drive BMWs. And they've got uniform and there's offices where they've been operating from and those processes. So it will be better to correct it and in a phased out way and take them for training. What was supposed to have been done? It was a missed opportunity. It was an unfortunate situation, but I'm waiting for a day fresh where political office bearers will take a responsibility and bow out. To be honest, if we're in a normal country, Premier Lesufi would have said, I was wrong, I didn't listen, I didn't take legal advice, I'm resigning. Understand? Because this is a very serious decision. But also what worries me is his principals, the president, and everybody else, even the minister of police or the department, like an agency of traffic, had said, Premier Lesufi, what you are doing is wrong. Why did the president keep quiet about that?
Yes.
Understand? Why? Because the president appoints the premier. The DA was the opposition party. It was opposing this whole process. It's fine for them to oppose. But what about other political role players who should have said to their colleague in the province, let's not do this thing, let us do it right. Let's not rush. Let us do this thing correct. And look at where we are now as a country. Or as a province, at least.
In fact, Premier Lesufi sounded very brokenhearted because he feels like this could have worked had he gotten support. It almost feels like he was hung out to dry versus, okay, we're here. How can we make it work? Because surely there could have been ways of making it work. If it had the potential of bearing the fruits that it did, for me, yes, there should be due process. But where we are now, what's better, to see how we can make it work, or do we just abort the whole thing?
No, I don't think they should abort. I think for various reasons, the crime in Gauteng is still there. I've already spoken about the livelihood of those wardens.
Yeah.
We are crying about unemployment in the county. We must not just keep them for the sake of employment. We must keep them for the initial intended purpose. Sure. The intended purpose is to fight crime and to assist. Some are common crimes, housebreaking, especially that they were deployed. That's another thing that I like. They were deployed into communities.
Yes.
They are patrolling the streets of Joburg where people were snatching people's handbags and phones.
Exactly.
And there was an impact in that. It was a little bit more safer to walk the streets of Joburg. Understand? The people in the townships could scream, the communities could blow a whistle and call them for instant and immediate help because the police are trained. The South African Police Service are trained. And all that. So I think we should think positively as a province and correct the wrong that was done.
I agree with you 100%. And, a lot of people on social media asking the question, but how do you know they're working, the impact, etc.? I mean, the impact that I've seen is anecdotal. And this is from my listeners on the radio sharing their stories about how just their presence, just like with community policing forums, where in a neighborhood, if we know that there's 10 people patrolling at night, there's less likely to be because they know there's a presence. So I don't think we can discount the fact that any presence on the street of some sort of force, trained or not, because a lot of patrols in neighborhoods are untrained people. They're just citizens who are saying, I'm going to stand up and make a difference in my neighborhood. And for me, any housebreaking or purse snatching or someone getting shot for a cell phone, even one that is prevented is a good start.
It's a good start. Yeah, no, I think there was an impact. Look, the people who are saying there was no impact is probably they don't see them or they are not in their communities where we live. People in posh suburbs, probably they won't see the impact because they are not there. But I know of people in townships who were saying their presence made a difference. You know, and even, I mean, which pets or cell phone snatcher is going to snatch a cell phone when you can see there's law enforcers there who will chase you? And so the presence is important.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Could we move on to President Ramaphosa? He's flagged the Expropriation Bill, one section of it, as being unconstitutional.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Surprise, surprise.
Because my concern is this thing went through 400 lawmakers. It went through the NCOP. We'd like to think it went through a gang of very astute legal minds.
Absolutely.
But yet we're here. And we're always here because of the lawfare of your DAs and your AfriForums.
Yeah.
Why are we here?
Well, first, it's you know, people say I criticize most of the things that President Ramaphosa does, and that's not fair, a statement about me. If he does good, I do say he does good. When this expropriation bill was passed, I critiqued it to say it is not actually addressing the imbalances of the past. First, from my side, it's not addressing the land question. What are we expropriating? I remember saying, what is it that we're going to expropriate, because the Constitution does not allow, pardon me, expropriation of private property, for example, without compensation. But the president to come after almost a year, and he signed this that bill into a law. It's an act of parliament now. And to say Section 16 of that expropriation bill is unconstitutional, you know, it's very embarrassing, because when did they realize that it's unconstitutional? And as you correctly say, for these bills to arrive to be an act that the president puts his signature on, it goes through vigorous processes.
To make sure it passes constitutional muster.
Before it even goes to the NCOP and to the National Assembly or Parliament, there are state law advisors that go through that, you know, experts. And this is an act of parliament. It's a legal document. So legal experts, how come did the lawyers that fine-combed that bill at that time could not pick up a point that this is unconstitutional? That's one part. But the second part is, once there's a criticism, for me, once a bill is being criticized, it gives you an opportunity to say, why is AfriForum or the DA, don't look at them that they are racist opposition. Actually, take a leaf from what they are saying to find comp and to correct what may be unconstitutional. At that time, if they would have heeded the critics, you would have come with a better product, because you'd have taken this bill back to lawmakers and say, hey, there are red flags here. Can we fine-tune this bill? But look, no law is 100% perfect. But when things were obvious and in front of you, to say you are passing an act of parliament which is contrary to the constitution of the country, I mean, lawmakers could have picked it up. MPs and lawyers, they should have picked it up. The question is, and that's where I think it's a problem. You see this thing of the majority vote in parliament.
Yes.
Even if you know something is wrong, you just use your majority, because at that time the African National Congress, led by President Ramaphosa, it's in majority. Therefore, ANC MPs just vote this thing to spite the opposition.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's where our problem is. Our MPs are supposed to remember that when they are in parliament, they are not there wearing the jackets of their political parties. They are there for the best interest of the country. So if an MP from the DA is saying something and you are an ANC MP, even if you come from political parties, you should take it as for the progress of the country.
Yes.
And that's not what they are doing. And that's why we are ending up with the president coming against his word, because he signed it. Again, as the same of what I've said earlier on with Panyaza Lesufi. President Ramaphosa, actually, with all the apologies and excuses he has made, at least in the last one under GNU, if we're in a normal country, the gentleman should be stepping down. Because you can't make laws that are to the detriment of the people or that are against the constitution of the country. We are actually, trembling on the constitution itself. And why would you still sit in office when you have actually broken the constitution or the rules of the country? And like I said, they are not making decisions for the best interest of the people. And they are protecting their political position. I mean, so many things have happened regarding that. I was thinking about something earlier on about the Pala case. And I'm diverting now. But I was just thinking, there were 12 state organs that were involved in the investigation of the Pala Saga. 12. Fresh. It's private money in a private farm of the president gets stolen. 12 state entities. Yes, I understand some came in, like the Reserve Bank and SARS, to check the legality of those dollars being there. But you can see how we are using state resources for wrong things when there's need somewhere. Law enforcement is needed in crime, in townships, in the Western Cape. And then we are using state resources to go and investigate. The president had, $500,000 under a sofa or a mattress. You can see that we are doing some very wrong things. And that's why we are sitting with situation like the Madlanga Commission at the moment. It's because our political heads, from the president to premiers and MMCs and MECs, are doing things wrong. They don't want to listen to advisors. They don't want to listen to lawmakers. They don't want to listen to critics. Because critics are actually, and I said it to you at the radio on Monday, I take criticism as a positive thing or as a corrective measure.
As an opportunity to look in the mirror.
Yes.
You look in the mirror.
Yes.
That, yes, you might be criticizing me, but are you right?
Yes. And if people are right, you are reflecting and you become a better person.
Even if you don't admit it in public, if someone is right about you, at the very least, adjust anyana.
I'm a very proud person. I've got pride and ego.
Yes.
A lot of people criticize me. When I get home, on hindsight, I'm like, actually, they are right. And tomorrow, I do things a bit different.
You adjust accordingly.
I adjust accordingly because you can't always be right. But I say criticism sometimes help a person to improve, to become a better person.
Sure.
And if politicians can do, stop being defensive. Stop being defensive. You even defend wrongs. Understand? There's nothing wrong in being wrong. It's human to err. The most important part and the pivotal part is when you pivotally shift and say, I'm correcting my wrong. And you can't defend. Then when you are caught up in a corner with your lies or with your wrongs, you are saying, I'm sorry. It's too late. The damage has been done. So before the damage is done, correct this thing.
In fact, speaking of government and the GNU especially, Home Affairs Minister Leon Schreiber, who's, of course, a member of the Democratic Alliance.
Yes.
Remember when the GNU started, we spoke about how chances are the DA won't leave the GNU no matter what happens, because for them it's an opportunity for the public to test drive them and see what they can do in government.
Yes.
So that come the next election, they can say, look at our minister's scorecard and how our minister has been delivering. On Wednesday, Minister Schreiber of Home Affairs announced the fact that Home Affairs will now deliver passports to your doorstep.
Oh, yes.
But they're only test driving this with South Africans living abroad right now. And many argue that South Africans abroad are the same South Africans the DA fought for to be able to vote. Because a lot of these people are their constituents.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on this? Because now for me, it's very... I mean, they could have test-driven this in Johannesburg, Cape Town, and Durban, that we will mail you your passport. But instead, they're doing it in the DA constituents. Am I being too much of a conspiracy theorist?
No. You are being a politician now.
No.
One, the Democratic Alliance has a constituency.
Yes.
And they are serving their constituency. That's whether wrong or right, it's immaterial. This is politics. And Fresh, you've got a very good memory. towards the elections, we had that discussion, how the DA fought for the South Africans living abroad to vote. And you remember the other challenge was not only to vote, it was that they could only vote at the embassies or consulates abroad.
Yes.
And some were saying, if you use, for example, the United Kingdom, our embassy or high commission is in London.
Yes.
Now imagine somebody who was had to take a flight.
And they did.
Yes, and they did, to go and vote. And they were complaining that, no, but can't they extend these voting stations to other areas of the countries where they are living? I mean, if you look at a country like USA, look at the size of USA. Understand? Look at the size of a country like Brazil, which is 4 times bigger than South Africa. The DA is saving its constituency. The DA is working for its constituency. It's rewarding them for voting them. We almost 80% of foreign voters vote for the Democratic Alliance. And they are rewarding them. I think it's unfair to come to a question of why do they test it in a trial run in foreign countries. I think it is unjust. And I'll tell you why. People who are abroad, they're either working or living there, living very well, because it's expensive to live abroad. They can afford to even fly or travel or even pay, what do you call it, or even pay courier. Although sometimes a document like a passport, it's a face value document, you don't courier it to avoid crime and all those things. But why would the minister, Schreiber of the DA of Home Affairs, let me call him the minister of DA, the minister of Home Affairs, not dry run this thing in rural areas for people who cannot afford? Let's talk about a student who needs a passport to go and train abroad or what. Now they must travel in a place like Mpumalanga. You must travel to Nelspruit or to the nearest office, and you must still pay taxi. Passport is expensive on its own. You must still pay traveling costs to go and get that passport. I think the government is not fair. They are doing a good service, but to a wrong target market.
No, but he's saying that we want to run it first so that we make sure that whatever teething issues there are can be dealt with.
Yeah, but teething issues, why don't you trust? The question is, that if you want to do the right thing, you want to, deal with the teething issues. Who said you can't have teething issues when you can run that in Mpumalanga province, as an example, or in Limpopo province? You understand? Why can't you do it there? But like I said at the beginning, the Democratic Alliance is saving its constituency. They are saving the people who vote. They are rewarding them for keeping on voting them, because the vote of the 2 million South Africans who are abroad, 2 million, it's a lot of people.
I know a guy that flew to London to vote because when election day in South Africa, this person would have been traveling. So they would not be able to vote. So they traveled to London to vote.
Yeah, I recall that. And why wouldn't you reward that person? And they fought for these voting rights and all those things. The same way as Golden Miles Budu and other people yesterday. Some of us fought for prisoners.
Yes.
I was one of the people who were against that.
I was going to say, what are your thoughts on people that are in prison having the right to vote? Because surely prison is, as much as you have human rights,
yes,
as per the Constitution, but prison is also society saying, for this period of time, we suspend certain liberties of yours.
Exactly.
Because you decided hotouta.
Yeah.
But you can vote, though. You can watch TV. You can have a laptop.
Again, human rights and the constitution of the country does not exclude them. It's human rights. But I think it is unfair, it is unjust that somebody who has committed a crime against the society, and there's a rehab center called a prison, and you belong there, that person must still make a decision on how we should live, or who should lead us, or who should govern us. Personally, I am against prisoners being allowed some of the rights equal to us. Yes, the right to life, the right to food, health service and all that, it's okay. But things like voting, you have already relinquished some of your normal person rights by committing a crime.
Sure.
And the fact that the crime you have committed landed you in prison, not a fine or penalty or suspended, it means the crime was very serious.
So you agree then that certain of certain of your liberties need to be suspended.
Suspended, yes.
Until you're out.
Until you are out.
It can't be that life carries on. Outside of being in a little cell, you're living your best life.
Exactly, understand? And that's why we have situations where this guy who was accused or who first primarily claimed that he burned the building in Marshalltown, now he says because he wanted to be, he said that's amen because he wanted to be imprisoned and on the street. That's why we have people thinking along those lines. People are saying, instead of me sleeping on the street, let me be in prison because I will eat, I'll get medicine, even if it's for 3 months, to sort my life out and the state will take care of me. That level of thinking already, it shows how things are wrong in our society or our nation.
I know it's not part of our prep, but there's a big story in the UK of a 15-year-old child who stabbed another child during break at school. I think this happened in Sheffield, in the UK. And he's been sentenced to life behind bars. He's 15. And the big debate has been, should he be tried as a child or as an adult? And I've always argued that children, even as young as 10, already know right and wrong, already know the concept of death and the lack of life. So if you're going to unalive someone at 15, you know exactly what you're doing. You should you should be tried as an adult, and they've done that. So apparently he needs to serve a minimum of 16 years before he's eligible to apply for parole. But this 15-year-old is going behind bars for life, for murder.
Imagine that in South Africa with so much violence at schools. I mean, we had a case this week in the Western Cape where kids were fighting, stabbing each other. I don't know, Fresh. Look, I'm shocked. I find it harsh.
Why is it harsh? You're 15. You know exactly what you're doing.
Look,
you know I will die if you stab me.
Yeah, and the fact that he had a knife, or I don't know what the story that he stabbed him with.
But it's standard in the UK. There's even a saying, if you see a kid in a hoodie in the UK, and I've done it myself. I was booked in the east of London. And I was staying at a hotel in the east of London. And the east of London used to be notorious.
Yes.
Nyana. That's before they reworked it, I think, for the Olympics, if I'm not mistaken. I think during the Olympics, there was a lot of revamping and work that was done on the east of London. And I was walking from my friend's apartment back to the hotel I was booked at. And I saw a bunch of youth walking. I crossed the street. Like I said, you could say they're kids. They're like 13, 14, 15. About 3 of them, hoodies, humnati. And I was like, I could take them on if push comes to shove. But chances are they've got knives and they'll stab me to death. I moved to the other side because in the UK, youth are notorious for stabbings. So they know there's a stabbings problem. The youngsters know themselves. You must go to jail for life.
Knives and all that.
You must go to jail for life.
I was not aware that there's that problem in the UK. I know in the US with the shooting, but I was not aware that in the UK they have the
Bagwazana.
What? A white man with a knife. That's strange. Kokasi, we are used to Gwazana. I carried knives when I grew up. But I never imagined that there's that problem in the UK.
So like I said, even me as an adult, I will not cross paths with the UK youth because I don't know what's going to happen. And it doesn't help that they've got race unrest right now. So yeah. Anyway, so Madlanga and ad hoc committee developments. Chief Justice Mandisa Maya has confirmed progress on Justice Madlanga's role in the new judicial reform ad hoc committee. What is that about?
I actually thought Justice Madlanga is retiring. Like he's no longer going to. But it's clear now after he have confirmed his appointment. The Judicial Service Commission. It's that commission that looks at the conduct of judges, the one that is now chairing the Justice Mnangagwa's case. That's some of their roles. Because remember, they are not in court, they're under the Judicial Service Commission, but they also participate in nominating judges. They are part of the team that nominates and interview and recommend judges either before or after Parliament interviews. So they've got a very big role to play, but also on the constitutional reform process of the country. And congratulations to Justice Madlanga. But politically, I just think it's a reward for him. Look, this was in the process before the Madlanga Commission. the process of appointing members of the commission, it started long ago. And what one can do at the moment is to congratulate Justice Mandisa. We hope that he will come with a very solid report after this whole process.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And with regard to the Madlanga committee, now it's boring. I'm sad because we don't get the news. Witness A and B this week. They've been on a witness A lasted longer than, remember on Monday they were in recess.
Yes.
Or was the ad hoc committee? But the witness A and B, look, one of the things that came out of these two in-camera witnesses, it's mentioning names. Julius Malema's name was mentioned. I am waiting to see how the fighters are going to defend their commander-in-chief with everything under the sun. And it, not in a bad way, but the fact that he is friends and there's a lot of untapped communication between Julius Malema, the leader of the Economic Freedom Fighters, as well as General Sibiya. A lot of communication. They didn't go more into detail of what they were talking about, but the witness said some of them, it looks like Sibiya was giving Julius Malema information about the police work. Okay. So it was not just a buddy, friend, because we can't choose afresh who people should be friends with. You understand? You may be having friends that you don't know they are criminals, as Brian Mkhotsi has said. That and when it comes out that people are criminals, their friends should not be persecuted because of their friendship. But it will be very interesting to know what was Julius communicating with General Sibiya. Because Julius is a member of the opposition party in parliament. He's a political figure in the country, and he has been talking a lot about crime and criminals and all those things. So it will be very interesting to get into the detail of this. And I wonder if the ad hoc committee is going to call these witnesses.
Oh yes, because now we have names.
Now we have names, you understand? Now the worst one, and I've been very vocal about why is the judiciary treated with kid gloves. Witness B in camera went on, and you know what I liked? I liked when the presiding officer, Justice Mandisa, said to this witness, you have been telling us about brown envelopes and judges, but who are these? So he actually forced the witness to reveal the name. Not forced, maybe I'm using the wrong word, but to say, but we have been hearing this and it looks like you have the name. And the witness said, yes, I know the name, with that envelope and from the tapings.
But also if it's 2.5 million rand, it's not an envelope, it's a big bag.
No, 12 million, and that one, trust me, it's a very big bag.
Yeah.
You know what is going to be interesting? I wish the Judicial Service Commission under Mayor Justice Maya can run a lifestyle audit, or even the Minister Mamuluku Kubai, all three bodies, the Chief Justice, the Minister, and the Judicial Service Commission, they should run a lifestyle audit on judges and magistrates and extend it to the prosecutors. This police, Mnangagwa Commission and the other committee, they are revealing very serious things to us to say, the deputy, I don't know whether he's acting or is the deputy, Judge President of Gauteng, Justice Lesufi, is alleged, based on records that they read and taping of phones of criminals, to have received 2.5 million from criminals in order. And this is recent, fresh. It's not something that happened years ago, because Mr. KT Makala, and by the way, for those who didn't follow the story, the alleged 2.5 million that the judge was paid, it was for him to, on appeal, grant one of the alleged criminal syndicates people now who was charged and was in prison, was denied bail by a magistrate, which is a junior court, appealed to a higher court. And the High Court of Gauteng, Justice Lesufi is the deputy judge president of Gauteng. And the story is he was given or offered 2.5 million in order to release it, to overturn the decision of a magistrate. And it happened 2 weeks ago. Mr. is it KT? Yes.
KT
Molefe was granted a 400 million bail. You know what I said at that time? The fact that the amount of bail is that much, 400 million, it means the state is saying this is a high-risk person. And also, 400 million cash, boom, it was there, it was paid. Understand?
100,000.
Sorry?
You said 400 million. 400,000.
400,000, 400K. Oh, yes, 400,000 was paid, bail was granted. Now, a witness in that case, who's a police officer, says there was communication before. And I wonder how did, or was it with the lawyers, or was it with the family or the rep? How did, because he was in prison, Mr. Molefe, how did he communicate with the judge? That's also a question of interest for me.
If you were a judge and your name is dropped into an inquest like this, do you keep quiet? Do you release a statement? What do you do?
Well, I'm not a judge, but I think what should have happened.
What would you have advised him to do?
In this
if you were his friend, what would you have advised he does?
Look, Fresh, if you know you are guilty and there is now material evidence in the form of communique, whether it was tapped or untapped, whatever, and I don't think the judge phone was tapped because the focus was the judge. I think the police were doing their job to tap the phone of an alleged criminal. And when they tap your phone, they will start following whom are you talking to.
Yes.
Sadly, or unfortunately for the judge, unfortunately for us as a country, it was a very senior judge. The honorable thing to do, if you knew that this information, now you know it's honest, it can be tested and found to be true, is to step aside. Is to write to the Judge President, Chief Justice Maya, and say, I am leaving my position while these investigations are taking place. That's the first thing you could have done. But if you know you didn't do it and maybe it's false, I don't know how you will prove that it's false or you will deny, at least put the nation in command. Issue a statement, say something, don't keep quiet. Don't keep quiet. We can't be sitting now here and saying our own Judge President, I'm a resident of Gauteng, I've got a matter at the Labour Appeals Court, the court that is reporting to that judge.
Yeah.
I'm concerned as a citizen now that if this thing is true, why is the Deputy Judge President still sitting and quiet? You know, they just blue tick us or they ghost us. He's quiet and I don't think it's correct. I also think the Chief Justice or the judiciary should have issued a statement and communicated with the nation. They can't just keep quiet. Yes, he's not guilty. I don't even want to call it an allegation.
But it's still untested, though.
Yes, it's a testimony of a witness, a state witness who is a police person investigating crime. But we can't just sit as if to say, no, you are innocent, proven guilty. This is a very sensitive issue. Like there's a professor at UJ who was also mentioned. He's a crime expert. He immediately resigned from the University of Johannesburg. And then he issued a statement. It's so funny. You know, no, Fresh, we've got problems. You know, this guy says the money, what was it for? For petrol. Fuel.
What money?
The money that he asked KT Matlala for, said it was for fuel. 200,000 is a lot of money for fuel. I can drive for 5 years with 200,000.
Yeah, but I didn't say how many full tanks. It's for fuel.
Yeah, no. But I'm saying, but at least he did the honorable thing. He resigned from his position.
But also you need to understand that petrol is not always physically
Not
fuel.
always fuel, yes.
Petrol, okay, and other stuff.
Yeah, probably there's other stuff, but there is a lot of bribery.
But is he saying he's guilty?
No, he's not saying.
Resignation?
He just admitted that he did ask for money.
Okay, I did ask for money, but
And it was not bribed for anything else. I'm a crime expert. Look, he's a crime expert. He's a lecturer at the University of Johannesburg. So I don't see how he could have influenced
anything.
But other people are saying now and then the police, for example, they will solicit his wisdom being a crime expert.
Yes.
So if somebody is going to pay me so that when I come to this show, I talk things that may sway and or influence lawmakers who watch hashtag Politricks. Is it a bribe? Or are you soliciting my wisdom? I don't know. But the man...
I'm a consultant.
A man resigned. Yeah, he's a consultant. But he resigned. I expect Julius Malema, when this issue goes to Parliament, he must excuse himself from the process. 1. 2, I expect the judge president, or at least the chief justice, to put us as a nation into what is going on. How many more? We have heard the magistrate again. You remember last week I said, I've got a problem that politicians, business people, criminals or alleged criminals who are being mentioned by name.
Yeah.
However, when it comes to the judiciary and the judges, like the magistrate, the brown envelope magistrate and the prosecutor, we never got the names. And I'm asking, why are these double standards?
Sure.
Why are others not mentioned and others are mentioned? But let me tell you, in the weeks to come, it's going to be very interesting. Of the witness coming out and all that. We had, in the last 2 days, former Minister Becky Cele sitting in the ad hoc committee answering questions after a very disappointing testimony by Minister Mchunu, or the suspended Minister Mchunu. Very, very, very disturbing. I
was about to say, what are your thoughts on suspended Minister Mchunu's deposition, if you will?
We were brought up never to say adults are lying. And in courts, you are not even allowed to say a person is lying. But I'm going to say Minister Mchunu actually was playing as fools. He misled and he played with those MPs by making long, winding stories, not as evasive in answering questions. There was a time the evidence leader, what is advocate? I always forget his name. The evidence leader in the ad hoc committee.
It's not Arenze.
Advocate Arenze. One question fresh. He asked Mr. Mchunu one question. They argued for 1 hour. I timed for 1 hour going back and forth, him refusing to answer the question until Advocate Arenze said, Mr. Mchunu, I've asked you this many times. You have avoided answering the question. I take it that you are refusing to answer the question because it's straightforward. Did you write that letter? That was one of the questions, that disbanding of the PKT. Yes, I did. Yes. You see, when it suited him, he will answer in confidence. He say, yes, I did. I drafted that letter. I wrote that letter. Nobody else. Now there's other questions you are being asked very clearly. Did you engage the president? Did you brief the president? Did you have engagements with the commissioners? 1 hour. The answer is yes, I did, or no, I did not. It's simple.
But he eventually answered yes regarding the president being away, right?
Yeah, I even went to briefing, engaging, telling. Those are different things. This is a very serious decision you are taking. You don't meet President Ramaphosa at some event somewhere and say, hey, my boss, I've taken a decision to disband the PKT, because he created the impression that it was a casual engagement. This political killing task team, we should not forget, it was formed by President Ramaphosa. It was his directive after several engagements with various ministers. It was not just a police task team. It involved the military, it involved intelligence, it involved home affairs, and a minister in the presidency as well. Understand? They took the decision in 2018 to form this task team. Now, you want to disband it. Is it not correct that the Minister of Police should have engaged with those who were tasked to form this task team? And as per Section 12B of the Constitution, the minister here has the power, and we must give it to him. But engage the provincial commissioner, who is the head of police in that province, the way they were engaged when it was formed. The way they were engaged. There were engagements when it was formed. You don't take a unilateral decision on New Year's Eve to issue a letter to this band. The timing is very important.
I laughed when Julia says, Malema's like, so we're getting ready to groove. We're in the festive season. Well, you're busy disbanding units.
And I listened to the former minister, Becky Cele. By the way, I was impressed by him. I expected a noisemaker, rubber rouser, but very first day on Thursday, I was very impressed fresh how he presented the background of this thing. In his opening statement, one of the things is he was asked, Minister Cele or Mr. Cele, you know what he did? They asked him, why are you being called the general? He took almost 17 minutes explaining to them, very impressive, why is he being called the general? There's only one general in the police force, and it's like being an ambassador. He says, It's like being an ambassador. When you have stopped serving in the diplomatic service, you're still being called an ambassador. So in the law enforcement, I'm a general because I was once General Bekele as the police commissioner. That's the rank. He said it's like a director general to be a police commissioner. So they call you as General Kele. But now, because he's retired, the only difference with that and ambassadors is that with the law enforcers, you put the RT in brackets. So he's a retired general.
Yes.
So they asked him, who should we address you as? He said, as a retired general or former minister. Do you appreciate that? I'm like, yo, this guy is so cheeky. But I was impressed on how he explained how he was taken aback when he heard of the disbandment. He was taken aback. And they asked, do you think Minister Mchunu was right to do that? He said, well, since he was already here, come after me, I personally think there should have been consultations and engagements. And he said something very crucial, and that said, especially that when this task team was formed, Minister Mchunu was the leader in the KZN, and is one of the people who had supported and asked when he was the premier to say we need special intervention in KZN because of political killings. So when he's deciding to disband this whole thing, Minister Cele was saying he was taken aback by that decision.
Yeah.
But I was very, on a serious note, I was very impressed. I don't say he's right or wrong, but the way he presented himself, the way he responded to questions in the ad hoc committee, very impressive for me.
Sure. Let's cross the Limpopo and talk about President Mnangagwa of Zimbabwe and of ZANU-PF. He's moved to alter internal party term limits,
Yes.
which would mean that he would remain in office in Zim beyond 2028, if I'm not mistaken.
Elections, I think, are end of 2028.
Yes.
October 2028, somewhere there.
So is this him hanging on to power or him just fixing the fact that the first term was not really a first term?
Yeah. Look, primarily we should recall that President Mnangagwa came into power. He took over from President Mugabe.
Some called it an internal coup.
Yeah, the party coup. When,
Yes.
If you recall, at that time, Mugabe was even given, the late President Mugabe was even given documents to sign that he's resigning and
Yes.
refused and all that. So I made an example the other day to say it was the way President Mbeki came into power in South Africa in 1997, 1998 from President Mandela. If you recall what happened, Madiba, he was still the president of the republic, but he allowed President Mbeki to run the country. And if you recall, actually, when President Mbeki started running the country, remember we had two deputies. It was F.W. de Klerk and Thabo Mbeki. If you recall what vividly happened that time, when President Mandela handed over the baton to President to say, look, I'm getting out of public space. I'll remain the president until 1999 elections, but run the country. If you recall, F.W. de Klerk resigned from government. I think at that time, F.W. de Klerk could not allow to serve under Mbeki.
Ah, yes.
Understand? And we tend to forget that. But President Mnangagwa took from first term, he took over from the late President Mugabe. Then they went into elections, I think, a year or two after. And then ZANU-PF won the elections, and that was his first term. So in the party, ZANU-PF, his term actually is supposed to end in as the leader of ZANU-PF. It's supposed to end in 2027 or just before the 2028 elections. But now they wanted to postpone the elections. That's what first thing that was supposed to happen. ZANU-PF wanted to influence the sitting president to say postpone the elections of 2028 to 2030. Their reasons that were given was because we don't have money in Zimbabwe, we can't run elections. We are poor, we are struggling, we are under sanctions, so let's postpone the elections. There are money wasting. We can't be investing on elections when they're important things to 2030. But then I think some, logic kicked in. Then they decided, no, we are not postponing elections. We can't because we may be taken to court. Let us actually extend your term inside the party until after 2030. So President Mnangagwa is going to be leading ZANU-PF beyond 2020. So when the elections come or happen in 2028, President Mnangagwa will be standing for elections. And we know what's going to happen. ZANU-PF is going to have a landslide victory, and President Mnangagwa will age and become 90 while he's still in that position.
But we've seen this movie before.
Yeah.
And, as much as I think the Zim constitution only allows for 2 terms, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
But Uncle Robert was there from 1980 when Bob Marley showed up to celebrate independence, right up until the internal coup.
Yeah.
We've seen it in Russia, where Putin has found ways of staying.
I'll protect President. In Zimbabwe, I don't know how did they get into this thing of President Mugabe
becoming
going beyond
president
the constitution.
He became president for life.
Yes.
Literally, yeah.
I understand. But in Russia, remember what Putin didn't overstay as a president. He shoveled them.
That's what I'm saying. For president or the prime
He was a prime
some
minister.
stage.
He finished the terms. Then he pulled out of office. Then he contested elections. It became the leader of the Communist Party. And now he's the president. He's on his second term of the president. Yeah. Look, I don't think the Russians or the Communist Party in Russia will allow President Putin to stand beyond this term. I don't think so. I think that was grooming somebody.
I don't think so. I think he's going to
stay. He will stay.
I think he's going to stay on. Yeah.
No. At least they have discipline and so. No, I don't think he will stay. I think he will remain influential in the country. And power. Remember also there's challenges in Russia regarding the business people and the opposition and all that. I think President Putin is going to amass power and control the organization from outside.
Sure.
He may not be the leader or the sitting president. Look, he has done 2 terms prime minister, 2 terms president. What else can he do beyond this? But the advantage that countries like Russia have is that they at least groom and prepare people to take over, even if it's your right-hand person. Understand? In Zimbabwe, it's an unfortunate situation. They should have learned, the Zimbabweans, when President Mugabe left the office or departed, they should have learned at that time to start grooming somebody in the ZANU-PF to succeed President Mnangagwa. 1, because he's old. 2, because for me, he didn't bring any significant changes in Zimbabwean politics.
If anything, he just maintained the status quo.
Yes,
anything.
Yeah, the status quo remains. So, again, this destabilizes the country. But, bro, in Zimbabwe, we all know there's no democracy there. Understand? There's no democracy. The military is running that country.
Half of Zimbabwe would beg to differ with you. Half of Zimbabwe would say to you, we voted for this government that's here.
Look, if voting is what do you call it, is a barometer to say if there's democracy, then for me it's a very useless tool, because if there's democracy, yes, they voted, yes, they put it there, but we know what happens towards elections. We know how the opposition is suppressed. We know, and it's also very difficult to challenge an absolute ruling power because they've got the resources, they've got the state machinery and all that. A little bit different in South Africa. We saw that ANC, with all its resources, with all the power they had, and the people talked because the elections were open and free. There's no suppression. And I think that is what is helping us a little bit, because it is very unlikely that a dominant party will suppress other political parties or will change. It will cause an uproar in the country if the party is going to change laws, the voting laws and the processes. But 2024 elections in South Africa were a clear sign of the people can talk. Imagine if the majority of the people who were absent could have voted. We could be talking a completely different stuff. Yeah. The angry people, the angry votes. We could imagine if those people, the youth, could have voted. ANC would have received even less than 40%. If those angry, remember, people got and didn't vote because they're angry with the ANC, and some they have lost confidence in the voting to say that elections are not saving us. And yeah, if Zimbabweans are happy with ZANU-PF, let them bring it back into power.
Let's wrap it up with Japan.
Yes, sir.
For the first time in history, and those that have followed Japanese society will know that it's generally a very patriarchal society.
Yeah.
And when it comes to, I guess, power dynamics, it's very male-heavy. But for the first time in Japan's history, they have a female prime minister.
what's the name? What is the name?
I'll find the name for you.
As you say, Fresh, the Japanese, they are very traditional. It's a very traditional nation. They are very patriarchal, as you said. Men are dominant, and I think it's the turning of time, the change of time that the Japanese have come out to elect a female prime minister on a coalition government. Other parties have helped to put her into power.
It's Sanai Takaichi.
Yes, Takaichi.
Sanai Takaichi.
So I think it's a good change. It's a good move for the world. And also the Japanese are not only patriarchal and male dominated, they are also a closed up society. They're very culturally inclined society. They are closed up. If you look at Japan, does not get involved very much in the world politics. The armies, the fights, the peacekeeping and whatnot, they don't get involved. And somebody was saying because they learned it the hard way during the World War or when what we call the Americans drop a bomb at Hiroshima.
Yes. That
actually changed life. You understand? It changed the life of Americans, changed the life of Japanese. And I think from that, they decided, let us stay away from world politics and engaging to preserve our country. Japan is a very small country, but very economically and technologically advanced, and they're superpower. One thing that I noted, one of the announcements on her acceptance speech was that she is going to work very hard on improving the Japanese diplomatic relations with other countries, especially the neighboring countries. She says Japan has been a little bit isolated and because of its selfishness as a nation. But she's looking forward to improve the relations with Australasia and the neighboring countries and other countries of the world.
One thing that's interesting about Takaichi is the fact that she's a massive fan of Britain's first female Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher, was also conservative.
Very, yes.
And Takaichi has always made it clear that, she's a conservative. Even within the royal family, females should never, ever be in line to succeed. When it comes to the Japanese royal family, she's against same-sex marriages, etc., etc. And these are views, apparently, that she's kind of almost softened recently. Possibly lining herself up for this position.
Look, I think if he was going to come out with that hardline stand, Japan has a big number of youth and it's a modern society. There's a lot of transformation happening there. And she had to soften up her stance towards things like, for example, same-sex marriages and all that. You can't, unfortunately, fight against the world or against, what do you call it, the way the river is flowing, you understand? You can't come with hardline stands like that. And I think her softening up towards being elected, it's what won her some of the votes or some of the confidence the other parties and the people have, to say we can put her stance has changed. But I don't know much about her. All I know, one of the things we have mentioned is that she is being called the Margaret Thatcher of Japan. But look, I've said the other day, Fresh, it is becoming clearer and clearer that countries that have female leaders, they tend to do well. The first female president of Africa was the lady from Liberia, and we know that during her term, things became a little bit better in Liberia. The infighting stopped and all those things. We are seeing what the president of Namibia has done in less than a year in office. And I think, in many other countries outside, look at the president of Croatia, what she had done for that nation. She became a darling. Look at the former German Chancellor, Merkel.
Merkel, yes.
Yes. I mean, everybody in Germany, unfortunately, she had served full terms and retired from politics. And let's just hope that the premier or the prime minister of Japan will walk along the same lines. And I'm one of the people who have been saying maybe we should give women a chance as mothers to lead in politics. Because, Rona, as men, our adrenaline and egos and all that is part of the problem in politics. It's seriously part of the problem. I think...
And often a lot of male leaders lack EQ.
Yes.
Everything is hardline.
Everything is hardline. Imagine Botswana being the president of the country. I think I'll be one of the worst presidents.
I'm trying to imagine. Okay, I've stopped now. Okay, carry on.
But I think there'll be more peace in the world. There'll be more caring towards social services when women are in those positions.
Sure.
Even if they are hardline, they're persons by nature. The turn of Margaret Thatcher in the UK, if you look at the history of the UK, leave their racism and how Margaret Thatcher hated us as black people and supported the apartheid regime, but look at her tenure as the Prime Minister in the UK. There was stability, there were jobs, there was growth, and she was the leader of the Conservative Party there until the Labour Party came and took over power. Now they're in a mess because men came who were Labour, socialist, and what. And there are examples. There is records that where females were leading in a country. I mean, after President Lula was jailed in Brazil, remember it was a female president, Bossoff or something like that, who was in power. Look at how Brazil progressed at that time, and look at how their party grew and came back and won the elections under President Lula because she had set a platform for the Labour Party to can come back into power. Not even as a coalition, as an outright majority win. So, thumbs up to the Japanese, thumbs up to the women of the world who are in political positions. And I think we should start thinking along those lines in South Africa. We won't be dealing with health and social services if a woman was sitting there. I think we could have done better in social services if we had a female president in the country. And maybe it's about time that South Africa must say, let's try a woman in power.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Now, this is a story, because we're out of time.
Okay.
But this is a story we didn't cover last week that I find very interesting. Afrikaans University Academia opening enrollments for its new PAL campus, welcoming students for 2026. They were founded by Solidarity in 2012. Academia expanded from distance learning to full-time campuses with the Pretoria site planned for 2028. Now, the PAL campus includes lecture halls, a library, a coffee shop, and starting with 340 students, 52 staff, all programs in law, education, humanities, natural sciences, and economics and management sciences are offered in Afrikaans. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, congratulations to the African nation and community for taking care of themselves. I think they are showing the seriousness. You know, they are putting their money where their mouths are. They've been talking about preserving the African agriculture. They're now funding it.
Yes.
They are not looking up to the state. They have the money, they've got the ability. But you know how Solidarity is being funded. There's a monthly contribution.
Yes.
Whether it's 100 rands or 20 rands from African
This stock fell for all of us.
Yes, you understand? And look, they are plowing it back into their community. I don't want to sit here and lament racism. To say why only Africans, why accept only African people. Is they are doing, is their creation, is their money.
And I agree with you.
Yes, it's they are actually showing us that if you are united and you team up, what we can do as human beings. And we shouldn't look at that Afrikaners are racist. They're preserving their African language and culture and tradition, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong in people preserving. And if there's an exclusion, I may have a problem with the exclusion. But, for example, if they're going to use what do you call it, Orania is doing, if they were saying, if you are prepared to adopt our culture and our language, you are welcome.
Yes.
You see, that's a much more fair situation.
So if I'm a Motswana who's fluent in Afrikaans and I want to go learn at academia, I should be allowed, is what
you should be allowed to do that.
According to our constitution, basically.
Yes.
And I agree with you 100%. That as long as you're not going to exclude people of other colors that I am willing to learn in Afrikaans, then I am all for it. And if anything, instead of lamenting the fact that you guys want to lager yourselves away from us, I'm thinking maybe we also need to take notes. Because we're the same people who talk about mother tongue education, but the business people and the academics within our own communities are not coming together to say, how can we take notes and say, if you want a university that teaches in only isiZulu, in KZN or anywhere else for that matter, how do we develop our language to such an extent that we can teach our sciences in our language? That I can then say, my child is learning at a a Zulu university,
Yes.
because that's what I want for my child,
Yes.
because it's part of preserving who we are, then that should be allowed.
And so that's where we should be heading as a nation.
So I'm hoping we are all taking notes. That yes, they had a head start because the Nats made sure that they get a head start.
Yes.
But it's not to say we can't also organize ourselves and say, where are the Botswana academics?
Yes.
Where are the Botswana intellectuals and doctors to develop our language to such an extent that you can teach science, maths, physics, chemistry, and everything else.
That's one. And develop books,
develop
literature
books and
in
literature.
that language. Yes. You remember there was a Xhosa guy who wrote a book, produced a book with of I think it was science or maths in his Xhosa.
Yes.
The entire, and that's where we should start. Where are the business people to support that person, to grow that, to be accepted
Yes.
at the university, let's say in the Eastern Cape? You understand? To can be able to teach those who prefer to be taught
Yes.
in their mother tongue. It's preference. But what is my political fear with this one, despite exclusion?
Tell us.
Let me tell you what the Afrikaners are doing. They're preparing to take over the country.
You think so?
Yes, and they're preparing very well. They're preparing economically. Yes, they had an advantage from the previous government. They, in a race, they were ahead of us because of the white privilege of the past. But they are doing something that I'm impressed the way they are doing it. I don't wish it happens, but they are preparing to take over the country. They are preparing, they are educating their children, they are protecting their culture and their language. Any nation that did not preserve its cultures, particularly the language and the culture, you see what is happening.
You
in
get
the world.
co-opted
Yes,
into the stronger one.
You even find, that's why we are having places like in England. You find a what do you call it, a prime minister of Indian descent.
Yes.
You understand? And it's because once you open up everything, you are also not opening up yourself for opportunities
Yes.
and advancement. You are opening up also for risks. Understand? And that you may be overtaken by those that you welcomed in your house, and they will start dominating. So, on a serious note, and in conclusion of this, thumbs up to the African community for protecting their culture, their language, and their people. We can learn from that, but we must watch how we'll get into sectors where they've got well-educated, technical people, will go into courts. They will compete for judges' positions. Remember, it's not to say they can't speak English. They are just enhancing their African and solidifying it. And they will come back, and our children will be overtaken by them for job opportunities, for dominance in the market and all that. Because there is no guarantee, Fresh, that this country will not have a white leader before, especially that we have a non-racial constitution. And what if another Court Brook, gets born and join one of the leading parties in future, and he's elected and he becomes the president? We are sitting here with John Steenhuisen, having have taken from Musi Maimane in the Democratic Alliance as a leader, and I think he's doing well for the DA. Understand? I think he's doing well for the DA. What if the DA wakes up and win elections, or they become a dominant party?
I don't think they'll ever get 50%.
No, not even 30 anymore. But what I'm saying is,
So within so you're saying within a coalition,
yes,
we
within a coalition,
might end up with a white president again.
It is possible. I'll tell you how. The ANC will drop. I still predict the ANC will drop. They're still scoring on goals. Then we'll go into parliament. Parliament must choose a president. Not this GNU, the way it happened now.
Sure.
Ramaphosa ran fast. The ANC was smart. It ran faster, even in KZN where they didn't win.
They said we're throwing a party, join us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if in future the DA will say, as you said at the beginning of the show, they'll come with their scorecard and say, look at what our ministers did. You understand? And let's throw in the net in and say, come join us. And those 400 MPs, most probably the DA and ANC will still be dealing with controversies, but with reduced margins. Then you start looking who will side with you.
Yeah, who can be the king?
Who can be the kingmaker? I don't see anytime soon that the ANC, the EFF, and Umkhonto, which is breakaways, will come together because of their infighting egos and differences. But the ANC will still go into power with the Democratic Alliance after the next election, supported by parties like the Patriotic Alliance and Inkatha Freedom Party. Do you think if the DA has, let's say, thumbs up, 20%, ANC 25%, Imagine Inkatha throwing their weight behind Inkatha Freedom Party throwing their weight behind the DA. And the DA said, we'll give him his oppositions. You've come with your 10% because Inkatha is growing.
Yeah.
Come with your 10%. We are having 30. We are forming government. Well, you are not going to go and tell the DA, don't bring a white president.
Yeah.
Understand? And I don't want to put race on this, but I was bringing it up to say they are preparing.
Should race be an issue when it comes to presidential races? Or is it's democracy and that's how, our system is set up? You vote for a party, the party nominates someone, and Parliament, 400 people decide for 40 million people who president should be.
Yeah. No, it shouldn't be a race. According to the Constitution and...
according to you?
According to me. Now, Fresh, I'm at a stage in life, I actually do not care. Anybody who leads this country or who is in an influential position in this country, whether it's in business or what, as long as people are doing it for the best interest of the country, that's what matters for me. Okay. And I'll make an example. One of the things I respect the African-speaking people, than the white English people of South Africa and the Portuguese and what, in my observation, they are more loyal to South Africa.
Sure.
And because this is their home. They've regarded this, they are more loyal here. They don't have their interest in Holland.
They don't have dual passports.
Yeah, they don't have dual passports. They are more South Africans than the white English-speaking people or German English speaking of Portuguese, because we have a big community of Portuguese in South Africa. I think the Afrikaners are more loyal to this country. The only thing that I don't appreciate about African-speaking people is their selfishness of excluding other people. And that is a problem for me. They haven't grown out their past apartheid segregation. They think, yes, let's live together in the country, but let's live separately. And that's the challenge I have with them. And that's the only challenge.
Good neighborliness, as de Klerk called it.
Yeah, exactly. Understand? Let us be good neighbors, but we are not friends. We are not the same thing. We are not one thing. And that is racism, actually. That is racism. And they do it according to the pigmentation.
Sure.
They don't do it according to the behavior or interest of people.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're out of time.
Thank you, brother.
In fact, we've spoken for a very, very long time. It's a long episode. I don't mind because it was very engaging and it was hot.
Yeah, and I dragged myself here, so yeah, I'm glad we did this.
Where do we find you on social media, sir?
botsangm@gmail.com. That's my email address. And on WhatsApp, it's 083-884-7787. And on social media handles is @botsangm.
Thank you for being a part of another episode of almost at 938 in context.
You see what things that you do.
Yeah, you see when you juggle radio and podcast. But anyway, we're done. Another episode.
Also, I think we must tell our viewers, because I think that's something we have failed to do here.
What?
That they can catch us on Monday.
Yeah.
At 8 o'clock on 938 FM. Monday morning at 8 and on Thursday, Mondays and Thursdays for
Monday and Thursday at 8 a.m. South African time. In context with Botsang, you can stream us on 938.co.za. If you're in Johannesburg, 93.8 FM. That's where you can find us Monday and Thursday. If you like more up-to-date in context politics and geopolitics, Monday, Thursday, just after 8, 938.co.za. Until next week, we are out of here. Shout out to Discover TV. Let them be your stage. That's where we are shooting from in Fourways, Johannesburg. Shout out to Trevor and his crew at Pezulu Works and Keleso Modisa King, our executive producer. Most important, you, the viewer, the subscriber, the sharer, the disagreeer, the agreeer, whatever your role is in all that we do. We appreciate you. We see you. Even if you don't agree with anything we say, as long as you're part of the conversation and we are agreeing with respect or disagreeing with respect, then I think we are moving forward. And that's what is most important. Until next week, we're out of here. Have a great week in spite of yourselves.